Deidre Brock.
Morning tang, Mr Deputy Speaker, and thank you for this opportunity to give my maiden speech and hopefully inject some notes of calm and good sense in what has been a very robust debate. Because, of course, I am the first woman to rise to speak in this place representing Edinburgh North and Leith, and I believe the first woman to represent any part of my constituency in this House. I'm pleased, therefore, to play my small part in changing politics to make the profile of the population of this place more closely match the profile of the population that we serve. Absolutely. And I am absolutely delighted to represent Edinburgh North and Leith. My immediate predecessor was, of course, Mark Lazarovich, who represented the constituency for some 14 years and was held in high regard by many of my constituents. And I wish him very well in his future endeavours. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, you may have heard in recent weeks a succession of members extolling the virtues of their constituencies and claiming them to be unsurpassed. This can only be because they have not yet visited my constituency. From the elegance of Edinburgh's new town, completed a couple of centuries ago, but still the new town to us, to the shore at Leith, which may have been tamed a little in recent years, but still loudly proclaims its independence from Edinburgh despite the treachery of 1920. My constituency embraces variety, and rebellious spirits are cheek by jowl with more douce residents. It hugs the Forth from Seafield to the Burney Rocks at the foot of Granton, and that relationship with the Firth and the sea has shaped the place. International trade in and out of Leith for centuries meant that our links were well enough established so that when England took the huff with France and banned claret, we imported it in vast quantities and smuggled it into England, keeping the best for ourselves, of course. The people of my constituency have always been inventive and resilient, and those qualities have served us well over the years. But it seems we will need them afresh now. While Edinburgh North and Leith has areas of affluence and more than its fair share of professionals from the legal and financial worlds, it also has areas of poverty and deprivation, and communities full of people whose life experiences are not comfortable. In my few weeks as an MP and in my role as a councillor before that, I have seen people in desperate situations. They face grinding poverty and their hope has been bulldozed from their lives. Mr Deputy Speaker, in 1922, James Maxton rose to make his maiden speech here and talked of the people of Glasgow living in poverty, with the equivalent of benefit sanctions forcing children to the parish council to be fed, just as they are now being sent to food banks. A century on, and it seems little has changed. The voices of the Red Clydesiders would still be regarded as revolutionary in here. The Chancellor recently informed the House that he intends to cut more deeply than he already has, that the austerity orgy would continue. Well, leaving aside the fact that austerity has never worked, and wherever it has been tried, it has caused long-lasting damage. Absolutely right. And we can perhaps look at the human face of the cuts, the suffering and the misery, and decide that we should decide a different path, that we should choose a different future. Now, in his maiden speech, Mr Deputy Speaker, Maxton said, "We have had many lectures on etiquette, manners and conduct from right honourable gentlemen in all parts of the House and from the press. We admit frankly that perhaps on the nicer points of good form we have different ideas. Our dialect is somewhat different also, and perhaps our mode of dressing is slightly different. But we think it is the very worst form, the very worst taste, that it shows very bad breeding to kick a man who is in the gutter, or to withdraw a crust from a starving child." Now, we've had something similar here in the last few weeks. We on the SNP benches may not have the delicacies of this House's customs and manners perfected, but we too think it is in the very worst form, the very worst taste, that it shows very bad breeding to kick people who are in the gutter, or to withdraw a crust from a starving child. We might have been entitled perhaps to expect that the loyal opposition would have had something to say about the crushing weight that austerity is for the poor, We might have expected a party that was built on a promise of creating fairness in society to consider it had a duty to stand up for those with least. Instead, today we find ourselves with a motion in the name of the interim leader of the opposition that talks of the supposed squandering of the London Olympic legacy. Given the amount of infrastructure spending that was denied other areas of the UK, as we have heard, to be focused on London for those games, some of us may be forgiven for asking whether the legacy in question should be thought of as a positive one. I shall be generous, though, and leave that aside and say that creating the next generation of athletes, elite and otherwise, and to improving the health and well-being of our people cannot be done unless there is investment. Investment in facilities, investment in coaching provision, and investment in society. For a child lacking nourishment is far less likely to perform well at any sport, never mind excel, and a parent queuing up at a food bank isn't really in the best position to encourage their children's participation in sport. And the same really applies to education, health and life chances. Poverty kills hope, kills opportunity and smothers ambition. We have to do exactly the opposite. It seems to me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we stand at a crossroads, a junction of decision, but our duty could not be clearer. We have an obligation to offer hope and ambition. We cannot be the doommongers, the naysayers, the harpies of hardship. We should be lighting the way to a better future for individuals and communities. A broken society, shackled to a future of despair and trying to hold itself together by its fingertips, surely is too high a price to be paying for a marginally improved economic performance now, even if austerity could work. The orgy of cuts must end, and rebuilding what has been broken must start. And that has to begin with investment in our infrastructure, in our public services, and most urgently of all, in our people. No more despair, no more distrust. It's time to invest. I say to members on all sides that we have a chance now to make sure that Maxton is not still relevant in another century, and that there is a different way. Come to Scotland. Find a politics that has been rescued by hope, where people are engaged and talking about the future and about possibilities. And while members are there, take a look at the investment the Scottish Government has made in community facilities through the Cashback for Communities scheme, financed by recoveries under the proceeds of crime. Giving the next generation somewhere to hone their talent, somewhere to get fit, and somewhere to respect each other. Come to Scotland and see the difference it makes. And while you're there, come and see Edinburgh North Leith. It is the best constituency in the country. And I'll show you around. I will let the people tell you that they need more than you are offering, and then you can come back here and make a difference. We members weren't sent here to mark time and hope we get out the other end unscathed. We were sent here to do a job. The people we represent need more from us than we've given so far. They need hope. And the question for each of us in this House is, are we good enough to deliver that hope and to offer it? If the people can't look to Parliament, they will look elsewhere. If we can't offer hope or its associates, we will be offering exactly the opposite: alienation. Failure to act would be a crime against society, a demonstration that we are incapable of mending that which we have broken. Now, I appreciate that the election of so many SNP members must have seemed to some honourable incumbents akin to an uprising. I've heard it called a jocalypse now.
Jocalypse there, Boris.
And we may have ruffled a few feathers. Since we've got here, but I really want to extend a hand of cooperation around this House. Anyone who would like to work with us to address poverty, reverse the effects of austerity, and start building for a future where we can do things like improve the health and well-being of all of the nations of the UK through encouraging physical activity will be more than welcome. This isn't a one-time offer, nor a deal that ends at midnight. This is an offer that lasts. For those interested in taking society forward, work with us, and by God, we'll work with you.
Can I just say, unfortunately, it's going to be a 4-minute limit. Maria Miller.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and can I congratulate the Honourable Lady on a rather challenging maiden speech, perhaps not in the best traditions of the House, but I congratulate her on making sure that she puts her points over in a forceful way.